CountessRose, and welcome to Two Mares Review, where we review anything from character design to fanfiction. I'm here with my co-host, Firescales.
Hey, peeps!
And today, we will be reviewing a requested fanfiction requested by Grusha TV. We are finally doing this for you. You've been requesting this several times, actually. We are doing Integration by Ragos. Firescales, would you like to give us a quick synopsis of this story?
Quick is a key word. We learn of a pony named Caramel who basically runs off to join Chrysalis in her hive to be with his loved one. And, of course, he's expecting it to be all kind of rainbows and bubbles and whatnot, but until he finally kind of gets in too deep and realizes that for him to be a changeling, he has to do the thing that nobody wants to do, which was siphoning love from his friends. To which afterwards, he manages to somehow persuade Chrysalis that change needs to happen, and he somehow gets contact with the Princess of the Night. And it's basically the start of change, acceptance, and giving back what was stolen and going and starting life anew. That's it in a nutshell.
Friendship is magic. Isn't it wonderful?
Fanfic was long.
Yes, it was long. It took quite a while to actually get through. Getting started on it, I actually had some problems because I tried reading this, first trying to read it myself, and I'm just like, I think my main problem was like the giant time skips. Because like there was like 3 different timelines we was working with. It was childhood of the main character, Caramel, leading up to his later adult life, I'm assuming, where he's with his special sun pony, and leading up to the invasion of Canterlot, and then the current timeline where he's in the hive and going through this process of becoming a changeling hybrid, which I think one of the reasons why I had another problem with this was the whole turning ponies into changelings. Because like when I first saw this, I was like, are they going to do the thing where they say changelings were like once ponies, but they got turned into changelings by some means or somehow, and he's going through that process to be with his changeling loved one. Which I'm happy it's not exactly what happened, but
I mean, I personally view changelings as a separate species and not exactly some natural phenomena, and not exactly something that could be just easily transitioned. Especially, it could be possible maybe for like a Pegasus or a unicorn, because changelings have both wings and a horn. But this is an Earth pony, who has nothing.
Well, the fact that he's an Earth pony, I don't really think is the problem. I think it's the fact that the forced mutation from one species to another does not compute with me.
It's very unnatural.
It is a forced mutation. There's nothing natural about it. And also, this is very tiny, very insignificant, but bugged the living crap out of me nitpick. Shining Armor did not grow up in Ponyville. That is all I have to say on the matter.
Oh yeah, very true. I mean, how long was this written before the IDW comic where we kind of got to see how and where Shining Armor grew up?
Well, we kind of figured that he grew, it's not even the IDW comic, it's the fact that we know that Twilight is originally from Canterlot, in which you can steam from. Her brother is also naturally from Canterlot, and it's just the fact that we know that Twilight is originally from Canterlot in the first episode, and she actually moves to Ponyville. It's just like, ugh. It is a very tiny, very insignificant nitpick, but bugged me because it was a running theme, because we kept on switching back to that time period every chapter up to a certain point.
Yeah, I can see how that could be confusing.
Yeah.
What was confusing for me, and I know this was written before, but it's just weird how Shining Armor acted, even though we now know that he was just a nerd and probably more on Caramel's end than a bully's end. Just his name didn't match his personality, which I found very off-putting.
Yeah, him as a young colt, I found him slightly annoying. Lucky, I'm not exactly sure he has a personality within show, so he's not really all that big of a deal with me, but I'm kind of happy with his story arc of he kind of matured later on in his life, especially after Shining left and his ringleader kind of was not there anymore.
Batman was no longer around, so Robin couldn't stand.
Robin became Nightwing.
Yay! But yeah, it was just kind of weird how because with a character like for instance Diamond Tiara, you obviously get something that's a name that sounds very entitled, very
snobbish and
snobbish.
hoity.
Mm-hmm.
Hoity has been my word for the week.
But yet, shining armor, that sounds very protective and whatnot, and did not sound like him at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that bugged me, because I was just like, why is shining armor a bully in this story arc?
Well, seeing if we're on the subject of characters, what do you think of Sassaflash as a character?
She certainly didn't act like a changeling later on in the story.
Well, that I can understand because she was a hunter caste, and we'll get into the different castes of a changing society later on, which was a very actually good aspect of the story, the setup of the changing society. But seeing that she spent most of her growing up outside and actually living in pony society, I can actually understand her not acting like a changeling.
Yeah, what was weird for me was that she was willing to defy her queen so quickly.
Yeah, I think going into her thought process might be asking a little bit much, especially seeing that we're following around Caramel in this story. So, and she's a pretty interesting character. I always like changelings who fall in love with ponies.
Did it say what color? Because something just came to my mind. So how did it? So did Chrysalis pick up because she grew up with Caramel.
Mm-hmm.
The changeling grew up with Caramel, and so did Chrysalis just pick up one of the young ones and say, "Yep, you're going out and you're gonna grow up with another pony"? And I'm just kind of how was that decided, and how why?
Well, what I gathered from some of the context clues within the story, she sometimes had to go home for family matters. So I would assume that she would. I'm going to say it was something keen to foreign exchange to some extent. Maybe she lived with a host family and then she went home to drop off her reservations of love or something. Yeah, the fact that she lived from within pony society from the age of 7.
Well, because okay, judging by how she acted and whatnot, and then judging how the actual changeling Young acted, they seemed totally different.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we actually fully grasped how old the young changelings that Caramel interacted with within the hatchery were actually, because I kind of saw them as toddlers, maybe 3 or 4.
I saw them as kind of maybe adventurous 5 or 6 year olds.
Well, I saw them as a little bit younger. That's kind of what I got when they could just say not listen to the warrior class or whatever.
But it was kind of weird how Caramel kind of compared them to the Crusaders. He mentioned the Crusaders.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I know who he's talking about.
Yeah.
Chrysalis, I think, acted very well. I think she was very well written.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked how she, I actually kind of liked how at first she was very resistant to change and then actually kind of defended against it.
And then she got the crap beat out of her.
In a way, yeah. And so I just thought that instead, she kind of, the writer did kind of a more a forced gradual change than rather just a complete 180.
Yeah, it's more actually, let's talk about the ending of this story, because I was sitting there during the last 3 or 4 chapters, kind of with my head tilted sideways, slightly confused about wait, what just happened?
Yeah, no, it felt very fast.
Yeah, because within the last chapters, Caramel and Sassafrash, or whatever, I can't word. Oh my gosh, but they start to try to get support to cause change so that maybe they can start integrating within pony society. Chrysalis ends up finding out about this. Caramel ends up starting a fight with her and gets the crap beat out of her after maybe landing 1 or 2 punches. And then Sassafrash comes in and tries to do the same and gets her ass handed to her. And then they get thrown in, and Chrysalis comes in and is I'm going to let you out now because you might have a point, and it seems like you got kind of into my overseer's heads. So we're going to try this a smidge. And then Luna shows up, and huge fight. I'm just
Look, Luna
What?
figured out I know Luna kind of, she was in his and whatnot, which that's acceptable because, she can do that, and he's still a pony, so she can still do that with him. But just the fact that she just is randomly there, and, like, the fact that she just waltzes in and doesn't even, it's almost like she flat out ignores Chrysalis and just goes straight for the pods. I was like, would Luna do that? That might be something Celestia might do, but Luna is a lot more of, like, one who's willing to pick fights, because she is the younger sister.
Well, I actually think, like, at least within the show canon, she's actually starting to take more of a more hands-on approach to mentoring and a less violent. We haven't really seen her very hyperactive aside from her appearances in the comics, except for season 2. Mm-hmm. She's a lot more subdued, so I can see her kind of going in for a rescue mission. But her randomly appearing, like, the build-up to her, I was kind of... Well, let's actually be... Because, like, we're kind of skipping all over. Let's, like, start at the beginning of the story, where Camero, he comes in, he finds the Changeling Hive. We find out later how he did it. The time skips, I didn't like them, but they were handled well. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. And then he somehow convinces he wants to stay with the Changeling Hive and become part of them because he fell in love with Sassaflash, and he's like, I love this girl. I'm going to turn my back on my society and go with the people who just try to invade my nation. It's Capital. What would you do for love?
I know he was pulling a Jake Sully from Avatar.
Okay.
I just realized it's mostly men. It's all the men. My goodness.
Oh, goodness.
What men will do for their soon-to-be either girlfriends or wives.
Mm.
But yeah, and then the entire process of him, being transformed was interesting.
Yeah.
And then him kind of understanding the society, starting from the lowest of the lowest gatherers and working his way up to being the top fighters was interesting because we got to see how the entire society of changelings worked.
His transition, I think, was handled very well because, like, they pretty much just threw him in a pit and it was just kind of down there with him by himself, except when his male friend came and visited him sometimes. But he just threw him in a pit. It's like, okay, now you're going to go through this change and you're going to figure your way out. Have fun. And then I've actually enjoyed the setup of the Changeling Society because of the different branches within the Changeling organization. It kind of went very strongly with the hive mentality that Changelings usually follow a theme of. Because we have pretty much the farmer caste. What was that one actually called? Forager, I want to say?
Or scavenging. No, probably Forager.
Yeah, Forager. They pretty much did the hive's agriculture, which was this growing of this fungus that they ate. Although that was kind of a weird little section where how they handled their dead.
Mm-hmm.
Changelings' relationships, I thought that was an interesting aspect of the story. But back to the cast. We had the Keeper cast, which was pretty much the nannies to the nymphs and the eggs. The Warrior cast and the Hunter cast, which warriors were like the people who were the ponies who defended against
the Kore eels and diamond dogs
and other outside forces. And then the Hunter cast were the ones who actually went out and captured ponies and brought them back and stuck them in pods, which is very sad.
Mm-hmm. Especially for Caramel.
Oh my gosh. When he actually got to that cast, and that was the only cast he was not put in.
Good point.
To work in. Which I can understand because I don't think Chrysalis would have wanted the new hybrid to have access to the outside world on a regular basis. So she kind of kept him underground for oh my gosh, the story spread out over 6 months?
3 maybe?
Yeah, 3 months. And it's just this is actually a very long story, and the length of the story actually makes sense in this aspect. But the cast system I thought was rather interesting. I liked the setup of the actual geography of the hive. It kind of felt like you had a general map of where everything was within your hive society. Although I really would have loved to go if camera had gone down to there was this down deep below the actual hive. There's the old city, which is what used to be the Changeling Empire when they actually were an empire, not just a village.
Yeah, I know. I really wanted to kind of learn more about that.
Yeah. I'm just like, yay! Although the I really enjoyed the sections where he was part of the Keeper cast. I just loved him kind of like trying to teach the next generation of changelings that ponies are not just food and they can actually. He was like trying to plant the seeds within the next generations for that mindset so that the transition would be easier for them, and I thought that was actually very nice.
He seemed like the fun uncle that everyone wants to be around.
Yeah, like all the little nymphs just like clustered around him. I thought that was adorable.
And I actually thought the ending overall was kind of slow.
Yeah.
I think it dragged on a lot more than it had to.
It was this weird combination of slow and everything moving at breakneck speed.
Like, to be quite honest, I was not really interested in the beginning part of each chapter where, like, it's the, basically before integration.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't exactly very interested in that because I was like, that was the past. You know, I know that he fell in love with this pony who was actually a changeling and he's chasing after her. That was basically all gist that I needed to know. And I kind of already had a vague idea what might have possibly gone down in terms of her revealing to him her true self. And so honestly, I wasn't really interested in reading the first half, and I was like, I want to know what's going on right now and what might possibly happen in the future.
Mm-hmm. Like, me personally, I was kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum, because, like, after I got past the point of him as a little kid, like, when they become young adults, that's when I was actually starting to get into the flashback sections, because I actually want to know, okay, how did he find out? Because when he first got to the hive, Chrysalis asked, how did you find out she was a changeling? And he wouldn't tell her. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to continue reading just to find out this one thing. And it wasn't pretty much as grand as I thought it was going to be, because she pretty much she helped him at the Camelot invasion instead of her fellow changelings. And that's how he found out, because she actually had to start using her magic. And her default disguise was a Pegasus pony, which is a big whoopsie-daisy.
And plus the fact that she got blasted away by the giant love bubble.
Yeah, but he saw her with a horn first and foremost, but that is kind of how he figured it out. And I'm just like, well, that wasn't as climactic as I thought it was going to be, but now I know.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to the story. I'm like, okay, what's next?
Thorax as a character.
Oh yeah, rats.
Yeah, Rax. I don't know how I feel about him.
My favorite character died.
Isn't that always the case?
I feel exactly what our best friend feels like. Every character, you don't know this, she told me this a long time ago, every character that she likes dies. It's a curse that she has.
Oh, I know that, because, like, the exact same thing happened with me and the Hobbit movies. My favorite dwarfs died in order of my favorites. I was sitting there in the theater, I was like, no, not Gilly, Philly, no, not you too.
I just remember I was like, with the relationship between the elf and the dwarf, I was like, as long as one of them's dead, I don't care which one. That's how bad I was. I was like, elves and dwarves do not get along.
Well, aren't you a little bit morbid?
Oh, Abby, because I love the dwarves, and so I was willing to basically put one onto the altar and sacrifice it. You know I was mad. I'll put it this way. My husband and I were watching it together, and when the lovey-dovey moment came on, we get lovey-dovey too, because you know what? Husband, wife, woo! But he turned to me to expect me all lovey-dovey, and he finds me gripping my seat and glaring at the screen. And he just turns back and says, well, I'm going to leave that alone.
Smart man.
Very smart man. So, yeah, I was quite angry. What were we talking about again?
Pony integration into changeling society.
Oh. We had two dwarves. Oh, yeah, that my favorite character got murdered off.
Yes, Thorax, who was the changeling put in charge of babysitting Caramel while he's being integrated into the changeling hive. I actually found him. I always kind of like the brooding, stuck-up characters. He's not really stuck-up. He's more like too cool for school.
Oh, yeah, he was kind of the stereotypical grumbling because he had to babysit, but then turn into a good friend, and it worked. It's a good stereotype.
Yeah, he was actually really interesting because like I want to know what he did to like get kicked out of warrior class for a little while. They had to go and hang out with the nymphs for a bit, and also got stuck with that because like he originally was in forger class, and that's where he got saddled with Caramel, and then they moved both of them to keeper class, and then they went back to warrior class.
I think what happened, he was originally in the warrior class, and I think he was maybe one of Luna's guards, or he was one of the guards.
And that's what happened. He got drunk.
Yeah, his head got smashed into a barrel full of cider.
That's what he said.
That's what he said, and so he got stinking drunk, and then the queen decided, as punishment, you're going to be with the low of the low.
Yeah, you're going to be stuck picking fungi instead of fighting quarry ills.
Which I actually was kind of pleased that the author, had another food source prepared for the changelings.
Yeah, the changelings they don't have to feed off love. They actually don't have to. It's just a source for their magic, which is what they need to be able to defend themselves.
And probably to transform.
He didn't really touch on that aspect, but I would assume that would stem from it. But it was also, love was mainly used for magic reserves and healing was the main two uses for it.
Which I think that I can accept that. That makes sense.
And apparently the young also feed off of it mostly too. Seemed that they had to feed the young that way.
It just sounds terrifying that while you're sleeping, some little baby is gnawing at your magic reserves. That's totally unnerving.
No.
That's when you just deliberately have a bad dream.
Oh, well, they didn't usually let the nymphs feed off of the ponies, but sometimes the nymphs did go into the dream. That one time when that one nymph, I can't remember his name, it was Sickle went into Caramel's dream.
I know. I loved it when he finally came back from the fighting class, and they're all like, yay, and they squeal and they just pummel him with hugs and whatnot. And then that one changeling comes, it says feeding time. I love how they all just turn to him. I just imagine all these little changelings first looking at the other changeling, and then just in unison turning to look at Caramel.
I might have to animate that.
It just sounds so funny.
It'll be strangely adorable and terrifying.
Oh, it'd be terrifying. Because you can see the hunger in their eyes.
Oh my goodness.
What else is there that we can talk about?
How Luna was pulled into the story.
Yes.
Luna.
Rather hastily.
I wouldn't say rather hastily. I think her introduction was slowly woven in and then just kind of exploded onto the center stage. Because Caramel, when he would sleep, he would have this dream of being chased by this shadow creature. And over time, that shadow creature turned out to be Luna.
And her excuse was that she didn't know how to... Ponies were afraid of her at first, but then they would eventually get used to her. But she didn't know how to deal with a changeling consciousness.
Yeah, apparently, when Luna enters your dreamscape, she manifests herself. And seems that a lot of the pony society still views her as Nightmare Moonish. The fact that she herself is entering their subconscious, and that aspect rises up and kind of transforms her, integrates her into the dream as some sort of nightmarish thing. But as the subconscious gets used to her presence, that kind of falls away. And add in the unknown factor of slowly being turned into a changeling hybrid, kind of complicated things, and it took her longer to actually get in contact with Caramel.
Part of me was kind of like, why was she so interested?
I don't know.
I mean, because he's just, true, there's ponies that went missing looking for him.
Yeah. And
there might have been some rumors, but to her, he's just nothing but just another pony just to gloss over. Okay, more dreams, okay.
The plot demanded it.
Apparently.
But it also might have been because he snuck in to see that one changeling toward the end of the story, which was actually the beginning of the story. This is why I hate time skips. But, like, besides the slight plot hole of how did Luna get focused on him, it's kind of a question. But other than that...
I found Luna's kind of nightmare form very interesting.
Yeah, the fact that she was kind of this weird halfway point between Nightmare Moon and Luna.
I mean, honestly, of the two sisters, I would picture her being the one who, not exactly snaps, but just kind of like, okay, I've had enough, stop playing around, I'm going to defeat you, and she would kind of go into Super Saiyan mode.
Super Saiyan Luna.
Spiky mane. I want fan art.
We want Princess Luna going Super Saiyan. Get on that.
So yeah, I guess that's an interesting ability that I never thought to give Luna is kind of like a dark form.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that kind of interesting. Would you say it's that form would be a little bit more corruptible, seeing the fact that Luna was about to go in and probably kill Chrysalis?
I would say it's more tied to her baser instincts and nightmare form, so yes, possibly. Overall, the story I found slow getting into. The middle I found rather interesting, the exploring of the changing society and how Caramel, an outsider, was slowly getting used to it. The death of Thorax was sad, but within a couple of within a chapter, he kind of fell out to the back of my mind because the whole coup was going on, and I'm just like, okay, well, that presence is no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
And how changelings handle relationships I thought was interesting, but kind of sad at the same time.
It definitely differentiates them from ponies, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, because the main thing was, like, how changelings, apparently, if they form a bond with, whether it be a pony or a changeling, and that pony or changeling dies within a apparently rather short time span, their feelings for them just kind of get turned off. Like, they no longer actually care about them, or they no longer, if it was a partner, they no longer love them. They remember them, but they don't really have that connection to them anymore.
Which actually, that sprang an idea that could make sense, because you remember when Caramel first was able to use magic, and he blasted Rex with it because Rex was being himself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Chrysalis says, now try it again, but more gently. Don't waste that magic. And that could be a mechanism, because putting love into somebody that no longer exists or is no longer alive could, in Chrysalis' eyes, be used as a waste of love.
I didn't see that, but that could make sense.
Because she was like, if you're gonna love somebody, might as well love somebody that's alive, so that y'all can feed off each other and.
Like, I don't really.
The hive.
It wasn't really a mindset. It was more like something biological within them that just kind of flipped a switch. Like, didn't think Chrysalis had that effect, doesn't have that effect, although her mind control abilities and her, I guess the hive mind is what we want to call it, is actually rather strong, because, like, if someone disobeys an order, they have this physical reaction to it after a certain point of trying to disobey it, and I'm just like, oh, she's kind of scary.
Yeah, it makes her seem a lot more formidable than the show has painted of her.
Yeah, but that's why you gotta love fanfictions. We can delve into this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so your final thoughts, Fire Scales.
I thought it was well written. It was a very good read, quite long.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good fanfic to curl up with a blanket and read. I thought very good character development, good grammar, good spelling. It wasn't. Didn't have to fight through and translate stuff that was not well written or whatnot. So that was an added benefit to it. And overall, I really enjoyed it.
I agree. The story itself was a good setup. It was a good character study, is what I would say, is to follow this changeling who follow this pony who is willing to change so much for his loved one, and that his actual love for this changeling was actually reciprocated, and she loved him back just as much. And the ending, I thought, was, although rushed, especially with the two major fight scenes almost squished together within a short time span, it kind of had me tilting my head in confusion for a little bit. But the whole, how they were able to slowly work together toward a possible brighter future. And I would give this, I don't know, at least check out the story suggestion.
Give it a chance. It might be slow at the beginning. Give it a little bit of time.
Get past chapter 5 and you should be okay.
Yeah.
Of course, getting past chapter 5 is rather long. It can be quite difficult because the chapters are extremely long, but what do you expect with a 13-chapter story that's 120,000 words? Goodness gracious.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Yes. So, that is all for today. Thank you for suggesting this fan fiction. It was fun to sit through, but also a chore, but an enjoyable one. So, if you have a fan fiction or a character you would like us to review, you may submit it either to our DeviantArt page at twomaresreview.deviantart.com, or you can email it to us at twomaresreview@gmail.com, or you can tweet me your submissions, whether it be characters or fan fiction, at me on Twitter at CountessRose at Twitter, #2maresreview. So, that's all for today. I am Countess Rose.
And I'm Fire Scales.
Bye-bye.